everybody. You're listening to Dualcast Geekery, where we discuss all things video games, TV shows, movies, comics, and more. I'm your host, Britny, and I'm joined by my co-host, Oli, as usual. How are you doing today, Oli?
I'm doing good. Not bad at all. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's Sunday afternoon. It's kind of cloudy and a little bit rainy outside, so it's a good day to stay in and do some recording. So today we're going to talk a little bit about some news that's been going on in the gaming world. Not a whole lot of that, but, just a couple of things to cover. And then, of course, we'll be going over what we've been playing, what we've been watching, and we're going to take a deep dive into WandaVision Episode 8 that released this past Friday.
Whoop, whoop.
It's the second to last episode as far as we know. I believe the series has 9 episodes.
I think it's 9. Originally, we thought it was 10, but I think it may be 9.
So, we'll be going over the 8th episode in the second half of the show. But first, we're going to talk about the gaming world and other TV shows.
Oh, what's going on in the gaming world?
Well, only a few little things that I picked up throughout the internet this week, throughout the interwebs. I found out that American McGee, who created the Alice video games.
Yeah.
The Alice Madness Returns.
Yeah, all those games. I remember those.
American McGee's Alice. Those are super cool, gothic, dark video games of Alice in Wonderland. Well, I found out that he is now working on a TV show and a game adaptation of Oz Adventures. And it's based on Oz, like the Wizard of Oz. So the game is going to be a single-player episodic experience, like, the Walking Dead games, how those are episodic.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be different characters with different storylines for each of the episodes. And they're all going to be set in different time periods, but they're all going to be based in Oz.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to be like a dark, of course, psychedelic type, I would assume, because that's how he works.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, and apparently he's also working on, I found this out, I didn't realize that he's working on a new Alice game too. Alice Asylum.
Oh.
It's going to be the 3rd release in the Alice games. So
Sounds...
I didn't know he was working on that, but apparently it was greenlit basically by people on Patreon.
Cool.
Are helping fund it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I would love to see that happen. I like to replay those games a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Love the Alice games. Especially the second one, Alice Madness Returns. Very fun.
I think you replay it every year.
Yeah, I do almost. I didn't this past year, but I did several times replay it, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's backwards compatible, so on the Xbox.
Yeah.
The Xbox One, so you can play it on there. And then, of course, the Outriders demo is now available on the PlayStation 4, 5, the Xbox One, and Series X and S, and the PC. So, if you have any of those systems, which, yes, you can go ahead and download those and start playing the game, see if you like it. I installed it already. I think you did too, right?
Yeah, I did install it, and I actually played a little bit of it.
Okay, cool.
And I'll talk about what I played a little bit later in the show.
Yeah, so we'll go over that in just a little bit, your thoughts on it, and then kind of my thoughts on it. A funny story there, but yeah. So one of the things that kind of caught my attention about the demo was that your progress will carry over to the full game. So whatever you've got going on the demo, which I'm sure it's capped. I don't know because I haven't seen that yet. But once you're finished with the demo or get as high as you possibly can, then that save file will move over to your full game once you buy it. So it's going to carry over for you.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So that you don't have to start over again,
I don't think that's ever happened in another game that I know of. Well,
I don't know
that
because
I played.
I don't play a lot of demos. I don't think Destiny was that way.
But yeah, I think that's a really good idea. So that allows you to not have to start over if it from the very beginning, and then you get to just really get into playing the game. And then
you're like, I already played this. I don't want to keep, doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I agree.
So definitely get that installing if you want to check out the game. It looks pretty cool.
It's about 20 gigabytes, so...
yeah, on Xbox at least, it is a 20 gigabyte install. Mm-hmm. So be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Not super huge, but kind of big for a demo.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. Do you remember another bit of news I saw that caught my attention because I remember you playing this game last summer called Moving Out?
Yes.
Do you remember that game?
Yes, I
where
do.
You grab things and you move it to the truck and you can beat things up so bad you just destroy the houses.
Oh my goodness, the things I broke.
Yeah, so that game is really fun and the maneuvers are really funny. It's slapstick kind of.
Yes.
It's just really funny the way that they move. Well, it got a new update. And the new update is called Moving In. And you unload the truck into the house.
So, is that sort of like a sequel?
Yeah, it's like an update of reversed moving out.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That game was crazy, but it's fun.
They also added a new DLC pack called Movers in Paradise. And it's tropical locations and tropical missions. It's like resorts.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it looked pretty funny. So I thought you might want to check that out if you wanted a little something fun and lighthearted to play.
Yeah, it can bring up your mood if you're feeling down. I know it made me feel pretty good a couple times just playing that game.
Yeah, even just remembering it. It's just the way that their arms move and stuff that make you laugh.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
And that's not typically my kind of game. It's kind of reminded me a little bit of that Totally Unreliable delivery service.
Yes.
That was hilarious too.
Oh my goodness.
The way that they floated and fell and
the whole if you fall too much, they let out gas and everything.
I know, it's so gross.
It's so ridiculous. The most ridiculous thing I've seen.
It is really funny.
Yeah.
It's the aerodynamics in that game were just
crazy.
The gravity was weird.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't right.
Yeah, so I thought that you might kind of enjoy that. We should reinstall it and check it out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can play that game with other people. I know you can. Totally Unreliable Delivery Service.
Yeah, that one was a multiplayer game. It wasn't just, I don't think it's just 2-player. Wasn't it more than 2 players?
I don't know. I know I played it co-op with one other person. Mm-hmm. But no, it's Totally Reliable Delivery Service.
Yeah.
But
it was very unreliable.
Unreliable makes more sense to say
because it was so difficult to get things going that it seemed very unreliable.
It is, and trying to take control of vehicles and stuff. Actually, the mechanics are really hilarious. But they're also really difficult if you try to play the game correctly.
Yeah.
If you are trying to do the missions, it kind of is hard.
Yeah.
And sucks. But if you don't care about doing things the right way and you're just there for a laugh, it's really just a good time.
Yeah, it is. It is a good time. They had some pretty good missions on, getting achievement points on, Xbox and stuff
yes,
like that.
Easy achievement points. And then one little last bit of news that I'll mention was in Dead by Daylight this week. It was pretty exciting. We got a new update that fixed a lot of the bugs that were keeping the player base from coming back and doing things. I know a lot of people took a break. Some of those kind of game-breaking bugs were finally fixed. Most of them were. And so I've been able to get back in there and start doing the Rift again and just getting my challenges done. Whenever that update released, they also started releasing teasers for the next chapter.
Oh.
So, and it's been leaked that the PTB should be coming out whenever they announce the new chapter on March 2nd, I believe, which is actually this Tuesday.
Yeah.
So only 2 days from the time of this recording, tomorrow from probably the time that we release this podcast, So yeah, March 2nd. And the teasers are a little different than like what you would think of DVD.
I remember like
did I show you
other
them?
teasers are usually aren't they little animated things?
Oh yeah, you kind of saw a little bit of the one for the previous chapter with the twins in Elodie as the survivor. Yeah, so that is not how they teased this one. That was like the trailer that came out like with it. But yeah, it's normally really dark and doesn't usually make a lot of sense, and almost doesn't make sense even after you know what it is. Mm-hmm. But this one was just super colorful. One of them is like a digital art looking picture of a cup of coffee, and the coffee mug says Mighty One Entertainment. So it just looks like an advertisement for like an entertainment company, but it's like a little coffee cup. And then they released like this profile picture that was a shadowed out face with like half pink hair, half blue hair, and it looked really like colorful and like poppy. So that's also not very DVD. I mean, some of the cosmetics can be like that, but it just didn't feel like very horror-esque. So and then the other thing that they released was a picture of what people are thinking. Some people think it's the killer, some people think it's a survivor, but it's like a blue, like kind of like a K-pop star costume. So it's just very vibrant and colorful. And then they released a short video of a like poppy, like techno song or being played, being rewound, and then being played again. Yes. And it's like a techno beat. Okay. So some people are predicting a K-pop star killer or survivor. I personally do not think K-pop star killer. I think if it's going to be K-pop, then it's going to be the survivor is the K-pop star, and maybe the killer. My prediction is that the killer is their manager or an obsessed fan.
Yeah, I think it probably sounds more like the K-pop person would be like, or the singer or whatever, survivor. And
that's what I'm thinking too. And I'm like, maybe the killer is a DJ and like has a club. Oh my gosh, can you imagine if they do a map that's set in a horror style like dance club?
Oh, that would be interesting.
Oh,
it'd be a dark,
gosh,
that'd be very interesting.
Well, and they've done several teaser pictures for this, because one of the first ones that they did before the little picture of the coffee cup was of a survivor or like a girl standing next to like 5 TVs. I thought when I saw that it was a picture of the reworked Jigsaw map, because they reworked that map in the last update. Okay. They fixed and completely reworked from the ground up the Saw map. And they have TVs in there. And at first glance, I didn't really look too far into it whenever it first came out, the teaser, but I thought that it was just them being like, oh yeah, remember, we just updated this map. And, here's a picture of it. Because it looked like that. Like the screen and everything reminded me of the Jigsaw map.
I don't really remember the Jigsaw map, but of course I don't play the game much, but that sounds really interesting.
Well, you probably haven't seen the updated version.
Okay.
I'm thinking, because I haven't played DVD a whole lot since then, but and I really liked the way that they remade that map. I know some people weren't a big fan of it, but I think that they did really well with the new Jigsaw map.
What was the issue that people were having with the map before, or why would they have to rework it?
There are no issues really with the maps. They're just updating graphics and changing the way that it works to kind of change up, play styles and give it a new fresh. They did make it feel more like the movies.
Okay.
So it's just like why they're updating the looks of the killers and the looks of the totems and the generators. It's just for something fresh and to look better.
Especially since, the new systems and everything, they got to keep updating to keep up with the technology, pretty much, I guess.
Because DVD is on, Xbox Series X, S, and on PlayStation 5.
Okay.
So that did get a port over to the new systems. By our next recording, we should know what the new chapter is, and I'll probably talk a little bit about it. Even though I won't be able to play it, I'll kind of watch some videos of the PTB, because, they always release for about 2 weeks. They release the new chapter for PC players to play, and they get to test it out, see if something needs reworked with the perks of the Killer and Survivor, and just kind of get a feel for it before they launch it to all the systems. So I'm sure I'll be watching some streamers and some videos about the new
I think that's a good idea that they do that. They release it limitedly just to see how, it's received. So
how it feels, what they need to change.
Kind of like beta testing in a way. So.
It is, yeah. Yep.
Okay, that's cool.
So moving on, I guess we can go ahead and talk about what games we've been playing.
Well,
how do you feel about that?
I feel good about that. I think that sounds very fun. Well,
I'll let you start.
I've been playing, of course, the Avengers games here and there. But the new game that I picked up is the demo. I gave that demo a try of Outriders.
Okay.
Got that downloaded, played the prologue. Starting out the game, just to give you a little bit of information, like, you start out with very limited things that you can do. When you first start, you create your character. They have like a character creation thing. You create your character and then you start the prologue. And when you first start to be able to control your character, you're only able to walk.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's the only thing you're able to do is walk.
How big is the customization? How in-depth is that?
It's not the most in-depth customization.
Okay.
Like, when I saw it at first, I kind of thought of Mass Effect. Okay. But except without all the facial, changing. You can't change the nose. You can't change the lips. And
it's kind of like, do they have preset noses?
Yeah, they got their preset faces.
But can you, say, okay, I want this face, but I'm going to put this nose on this face? Or
no.
Even if it doesn't have, a drag thing?
No, you can't.
Drag thing. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but,
you can't go through, a selection of, noses. No, you can't scale it. Okay. You don't have... And, even with the complexion, I was trying to make, a white character. I tried to make them black, and then I also tried to make the black character white, and you're unable to do that. So you can only change, the black character, you're able to change him, make him a little bit lighter, but you couldn't make, his facial features, you couldn't make him, white. And that's the same with the white character. You couldn't make them just totally black or something like that. And that's what I was just trying to mess with there. And then they just have different selections. They have a character that look more Asian, and then one that has more Latino features and things like that. So they just kind of chose different characters that fit within various races and stuff like that. But as I mentioned, the gameplay, you first start out very limited, just walking, and then it's kind of like they're baby stepping you into how to use the game or play the character. And I was like,
so it's basically acting like you don't have knowledge of shooter mechanics.
Yeah, pretty much. And that kind of threw me off a little bit. But the more that you start getting into it, I was it starts to get kind of fun. And the mechanics of how the character move, they have a run, regular run jog whenever they allow you to do that. And then they have
once you unlock it.
A run, and then when you come up to an object, you're able to press A or something like that, or I don't know what button it'd be on PlayStation, but you can climb. X, you'll be able to climb over things. And then you have a jump roll. And it's very similar to Gears of War or Mass Effect, where you have the jump roll things that you could do. So to me, the controls, it kind of reminds me altogether. The game kind of reminds me of a little bit of Destiny, a little bit of Gears of War, and a little bit of Mass Effect. Okay. And they got all three of those together. Unless I unlock more, he doesn't have a regular jump feature. It's more the jump roll out of the way.
Oh, let's hope that they unlock that, because jumping is
I like jumping on things, but I'm not sure if they're going to have that feature, but could be. But that's not what I saw at that time. And that's about as far as I got. I got kind of through the prologue, and now I guess it's more like a little bit more of the game, but I haven't started that just yet, so.
Okay. Well, yeah, it did just come out, and I know you didn't have a lot of time to play anything this weekend, but yeah, it looks really crisp.
Yeah, it does. The graphics look good, and the story is actually pretty interesting about is the storyline kind of starts off about Earth. Like 15 years ago, like they left Earth, and I guess Earth is like destroyed or something like that. And they mention a little bit about some kind of explosion or something that may have like polluted Earth and made it unlivable. So, but you'll get to learn more about it the more you play the game and the more you like kind of research things. So I'm still fairly fresh, so I'm not too sure on everything that happened in the game.
I'm sure it's just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Is it all third person?
It is.
Oh, okay.
From what I can tell. I didn't see if there's a way. I kept pressing throughout buttons and nothing changed to first person, so I think it is mostly just third person perspective.
Okay. Well, as you know, I installed it and I tried to start it up and it kept giving me an internet connection error last night. And I was kind of messing around with it some. And it just kept saying that I couldn't connect to the Outriders service. Like it said, internet connection error, could not connect to Outriders service. And I was like, well, that's weird because I've been playing DVD. I loaded up Overwatch right after. I loaded up Elder Scrolls Online. And none of those games were having problems. So I just didn't get a chance to play it because it just wouldn't work for me. And then I tried again this morning and it was doing the same thing. So I uninstalled it and I reset the internet, like our router, and I reinstalled the game, but I haven't been able to try to play it again yet. So let's hope that gets fixed. I was Googling and apparently other people are experiencing that same problem. So, I don't know. I guess I just got unlucky.
Yeah.
They had some suggestions on like what to do with our router, but I don't really want to go around messing with that.
Yeah, because
and resetting stuff and having to change things up just for a demo, you know.
Yeah, since it's already like every other game is working for us, so I'm pretty sure it's not our router. It has something to do with the game itself. So
I agree. So if it doesn't work, I might just hop on your game just to test out the mechanics and see how I feel about it. But otherwise, I'll just watch other people play it. So that's been my little experience with Outriders. But
so what games have you been playing? Like
I've been playing a lot of ESO.
Yes.
Because they're having an event right now that started this past Thursday. And I've really been enjoying that. Other than, you know, what I've already said, I've been getting back into Dead by Daylight a little bit. But yes, been playing a lot of Elder Scrolls Online whenever I can. So with the Elder Scrolls Online, the event that they're running right now is called the Tribunal event. And this is set in both Vardenfell, so the Morrowind DLC and the Clockwork City DLC. It pays homage to those two lands. Both of those DLCs are 50% off right now. So if you're kind of new to the Elder Scrolls Online, or, you know, you don't have those DLCs, maybe you haven't been on the game for a little while, they are 50% off right now. I got the Clockwork City DLC for only $10. I already had Morrowind, but yeah, so it's a good deal right now if you wanted to check out those areas. You know, I've always been really obsessed with the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. So having it in like an MMO like this is really cool, and getting to trek back through those areas is really fun. And Elder Scrolls Online is set a long time before the events of Morrowind and Oblivion and Skyrim. So this is almost like a prequel. Like the storylines of the Morrowind DLC and the Clockwork City DLC are prequels to what happened in the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. In the event, basically, you get double rewards from all of your provisionings in like your woodworking and stuff, like crafting materials.
Oh, yeah.
So you're kind of just running around and you get more rewards from killing enemies and bosses and completing delves.
Okay.
In Morrowind and the Clockwork City.
Okay.
So because I had already unlocked almost everything in Vardenfell, I have been doing a lot more in the Clockwork City. which is so cool because it's like steampunky, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And it is a smaller map, but they still have 2 big bosses and a couple of delves. And they have some different crafting materials that you can find. So it's really cool going in there. And, you know, my favorite thing to do anyway is crafting. So this event is right up my alley. Between it being about, you know, the Dunmer lands and crafting, super exciting.
Yeah, I see you doing a lot of crafting over there.
I crafted for 3 hours last night. 3 hours. I was running around just finding stuff. And, you know, I think it would pay me to have an ESO membership, like an ESO Plus membership, because you get a craft bag and you don't have to keep like spending hours just trying to clean out your inventory and then putting things, So
yeah, I think that may do you good.
For $15 a month, at least I could save some time, you know, from running back and forth to my bank to, you know, refine materials. But yeah, it's just a really like grindy, fun game to play while, you know, you're watching some shows, listening to some podcasts, music, whatever. So I've really been enjoying that event. But other than that, I haven't been playing anything else.
Yeah, I haven't either. Though, like just playing that demo, I think I'm going to try to get back into Avengers more, and then Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Yeah. You only have a couple more weeks before the new DLC comes out with Hawkeye.
I am excited about that. I'm going to try to get all my characters up to 50 before that happens.
Yeah, 3 more weeks, I believe.
Yeah.
So moving on to shows we've been watching. You go ahead, because I have only really done one that I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, well, I watched one show on Netflix. It's labeled a Netflix original.
Okay.
So it's based off a Japanese manga. It is a show filmed in Japanese, so the version that's on Netflix is dubbed. So I was watching this, and it's called the show is called Alice in Borderland.
Okay.
And it follows the main character name is Arisu, and he's a slacker.
A slacker?
Yeah, slacker. He's like a young 20-something-year-old guy. He just sits in his room. He plays video games, talks to his 2 friends. His father wants him to get out and get a job. His brother, is out working. Younger brother's out working at some kind of fancy, company or whatever. And he's, trying to get his brother an interview so that he's not such a slacker. And brother's not interested. He just likes being his slacker self. And, when you look through this guy's room, you see all these, books of, you know he's smart because he has all these smarty books that looks like he's read and went through and stuff like that, but he just doesn't want to apply himself. And so that's how the story starts. And then him and his friends are communicating. They go and they start acting weird out in the city or whatever, acting like, you know, young, more like teenagers rather than 20-year-olds. And they are running from the police for some reason or whatever. And then all of a sudden everybody's gone, and it's a totally different, a wasteland of
like a coming of Christ type story.
Yeah, it's kind of everyone else has got zapped away, and they're in the city of, I believe it's Tokyo, and they're just walking around and nobody's around. And then, you know, all of a sudden this they see this light pop up in the middle of the night, and they go follow it, and it's this building. They go into this building. It starts off with a game or whatever. And from what I can tell from this, watching the series, I just watched about 5 episodes or so into it. It appears that they have been drawn into a parallel universe of some sort, and they have to play this dangerous game where you die if you don't complete these tasks. And you have to figure out these puzzles and different things, these different scenarios. And if you can't get through these scenarios, you die.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And if you try to quit, you die. And people just I don't want to do this anymore. And their head, you see this beam just comes from the sky, and their head just explodes or they die, and you're like, what kind of? It's like something like an entity or some alien is like controlling this, and it's like playing games with people's lives, you know.
Oh wow!
So it's rather interesting. Get some cool characters that arrive and everything like that. So I'm not going to go too much further in. If you want to go in and watch this show, I think it's a pretty good show. And I was looking information up about it, and they did greenlight it for a second season since it's doing so well. What have you been kind of watching of late?
I ended up watching the rest of that show called Behind Her Eyes.
Oh, how was it?
It was interesting.
Interesting.
So the first couple episodes were the whole series really is dark and mysterious. A few episodes in, you're still really not sure what's going on. You're not really sure who you're supposed to even like. I think. Eventually, it has a supernatural element come into play, which I was not expecting because it seemed very out of place to me. And it kind of took away my desires to see the rest of it, but I did finish it anyway. But when something is like mysterious and suspenseful because it could happen in real life?
Yeah.
And then it's like they take that away by adding something completely unrealistic to it. And it's kind of like, oh, so the explanation was supernatural the whole time?
Yeah.
And it just feels flat. That's kind of how I felt about it. But, I mean, if you're not the type of person that gets put off by that type of thing, then you could very well like the show. And it's not like it was horrible, but I really just struggled the whole time knowing which character am I supposed to like? Which character am I supposed to not think is a horrible person? Because they all have, like, almost more bad elements than good. I don't know. It was confusing. It confused me so bad, knowing how I was supposed to feel about it.
I saw a little bit of it, and just, like, the stuff that you're watching. And I personally, when I found out what each character was doing, I was like, all these characters sound terrible. And I'm sorry, I like knowing about that, I don't even want to watch the show. I'm sorry, but
yeah, and then not giving away any spoilers, but the one person that I thought I was supposed to really like, it turns out, haha, just kidding, you're not.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, shoot, then what am I supposed to do?
Like, everybody's terrible in the show, and there's nobody to like.
Not that I need somebody to tell me how to feel about something, but I want to feel like I finished a show still enjoying a character.
Yeah.
Or knowing about a character, on a level, but it just didn't do that for me.
It fell flat with all characterizations, It's like, that's hard to watch a show and try to get into a show, and you don't like any of the characters. Like,
yeah. But I will say that the actors did really well. I think that they acted well. And they did their jobs well. Maybe not that I'm going to take the time to do it, but maybe a second viewing would make more sense now, knowing what I know. But otherwise, it's not really worth going back through to watch it again. Maybe I should read the books. Apparently there was a book about it. It was a book first, so.
Yeah, maybe the book will clear up some things or make it, more interesting.
But it is only, I think, 7 episodes long. So it wasn't a super long show.
Yeah, more like a mini-series.
It's a limited series. So it's not getting a sequel. It's like The Island show. That's a limited series, too.
Yeah, that was limited as well.
And that one kind of ended up falling flat a little bit, too.
Yeah, close to the end.
But at least you had characters that you did like.
Yes, you did have characters you liked.
So, yeah, that was the only other show I watched worth really talking about that aren't just reruns that I watch because I like to do the same thing over and over and over again. We saw WandaVision. So for the second part of this show, we're going to dive on into WandaVision episode 8. So we're going to take a quick little break, and when we get back, we will start going over it.
Whoop, whoop.
Welcome back to Dualcast Geekery. For this part of the show, we're going to cover WandaVision Episode 8, titled Previously On. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited were you for this new episode, Oli?
I would say I was about at a 9.
A 9?
Look at a 10.
I feel like every Friday is a 10 for me because of WandaVision. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna not fangirl. But I was very excited for this because it felt like a long week between the time that we found out Agnes is Agatha Harkness to just this past Friday. Seems like a lifetime.
Yeah.
Between those 2 weeks. So I realized I just kind of said a spoiler, but anyway, if you haven't seen WandaVision Episode 8, do note that we will be talking major spoilers because we're doing deep dive conversations on Marvel, Wanda's past, things like that with this episode, and we are talking about the episode itself too. Yes. So there's going to be spoilers from here on out for the rest of the show. So
yeah, if you haven't watched it, watch it, then come back and listen to our show.
Yeah, or if you don't mind spoilers, listen on. So the show, this episode titled Previously On, when I first saw that, I was like, oh, they're not just gonna do a flashback, like, kind of like a recap episode in a way. Because there are shows in the past that did that. And as you stated, too, animes do that.
Oh, they do that a lot.
So I was like, oh, I hope that's not it. But as we started watching the episode, it starts off with a flashback of Agatha Harkness's life when she was going to be sort of burned at the stake. I don't know if you can really call it burned when you've got a bunch of witches doing whatever other powers to you, not just flames. But, she was going up on the stake. It wasn't really so much about burned at the stake for being a witch. It was apparently burned at the stake for using her powers, like in a way that she shouldn't have. Or that she stole something from those witches.
I think from what I understand, she was practicing, forbidden magic from a book or something like that.
Yeah. Ooh. I wonder if that has to do with some of the theories that we have that we will talk about in just a little bit.
Yeah, I think it may.
But the books.
Yes.
So we get a little flashback of Agatha's life back in those days. Quite a few days ago.
Olden days. Literally the olden.
Yeah, the olden days. But, turns out that this is also an episode flashing back to Wanda's life and the lead up to the events of WandaVision and Westview and all the crazy things going on in the show. Agatha is obviously just wanting to get to the bottom of why Wanda can use this magic so strongly, and she's trying to see what caused Wanda to snap, kind of, and do what she did on the town of Westview. So we get a peek into Wanda's childhood, her life in Sokovia.
Yeah.
Is that where?
Yeah, Sokovia. Yeah, life in Sokovia. More about her life as she grew older and then finally started to, hate Tony and all that,
Yeah. But the first segment of her life that Agatha kind of takes her through is when she's a child and she's at the apartment with her parents and Pietro. So, they live in a small flat. When her dad comes home, he's got the suitcases full of seasons of old sitcoms, which really goes to show why the show WandaVision was set up the way that it was in the beginning with the different episodes. She watched these sitcoms throughout her life, and as a child, the Dick Van Dyke Show was her favorite, it's revealed, And her favorite episode is, of course, correlated to the first couple episodes of WandaVision. And that was her happy place. Like, that was the show that she watched to have a good time and be happy. And that kind of, these shows, like, comforted her throughout her years. And it just shows that she put herself into those mental states because it, like, helped soothe her, kind of.
Yeah.
I believe is what they were saying. Like a coping mechanism.
Yeah, coping mechanism, or like a safe, like, space for her mental health.
Yeah, yes. So they did go into that to try to make sense of why, we saw things that way. And then, of course, the apartment explodes. But I kind of want to talk a little bit about that with her parents, because last week we mentioned that Magneto is her and Pietro, Quicksilver's father.
Yes.
But according to this episode of WandaVision, that guy who is her father is not Magneto.
No.
But after doing some reading, I noticed that they said that Wanda and Pietro were actually adopted by two people, and their last names were Maximoff. So they were adopted by, like, two normal people that, Magneto gave the children to them, So I personally think that that's the storyline that they're going with.
Yes.
For this, is that they were, like, handed off to adoptive parents. That doesn't rule out the fact that Magneto could still be her dad.
Yes.
If one of the comics in the past did have that storyline.
Exactly. So, in time they can, update, whenever they do decide to add mutants, they can really, affect Wanda and Pietro.
And it would also add a storyline that, her parents are dead, her brother is dead, and Vision is dead, but she does still have a biological father out there when they do bring the mutants and Magneto into the universe, into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So she might still have somebody alive.
Yeah.
And then, of course, within that scene, too, they showed, like we talked about, the toaster last week. So they did show that bomb and the noise that it was making, and, it was defective, and that's why it didn't blow up.
And that's why, in that one scene in, like, was it the first episode or the second episode that had that toaster?
It was the first episode.
And it's just making that beeping sound, and the lady was just looking at it. And it just, like, this made you think, like, you see that same beeping with that missile that had Tony Stark on it, and this Stark Industries on it, and it was just beeping in front of him, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, so that was the nod to that. Oh, and I did find out, by the way, you know how we talked about the Lagos paper towels?
Yeah.
I could be saying Lagos wrong. But I found out that Lagos is the location of that fight scene in Captain America Civil War where Wanda is trying to
save Captain America when Crossbones decided to blow himself up in the middle of their fight. He tries to, like, do, like, a kamikaze, like, explosion. And she captures, like, that explosion inside, like, a energy ball. And she tries to shoot it up and away from everybody, but she wasn't able to do it in time, and it explodes, and it blows up, like, a part of the building, and that's when everything started going crazy. And she was pretty much blamed for it, but you know what? There were more people on the ground. Like, if it would blew up, it would blew up part of the building anyway. The building would fell over, and more people probably would have died. So she saved as many people as she could.
There was no way out of somebody dying. But that's the location, that's the name of the place, Lagos paper towels. And in the commercial there, the kid knocks over a glass of, like, red juice, and it's definitely symbolizing, like, the blood is on her hands and she needs to clean it up.
Yeah.
And they're like, no matter how big of a mess you make.
Oh boy.
So I did find out what that Easter egg was about.
Wow. And that's really dark,
It is.
And each of the commercials are really dark.
And they just get worse and worse. But we're not revisiting that. No thanks. Of course, as the episode goes along, we see more scenes where she and Vision are growing closer. You know, you see him, like, taking care of her mentally and just being a really good friend to her and being there for her. Like, when Pietro dies.
Yeah, she seems like she's in a really dark place, and you see her, like, going back to what makes her feel good, watching television. And the show that we see this time is Malcolm in the Middle, which is kind of like the episodes that we start noticing whenever the kids are introduced, you know, and they're doing, like, the monologues and stuff, and that's classic Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
So I thought that's pretty...
Is that the show she was watching when she was sitting on the bed with him?
Yeah, that's the show she was watching, Malcolm in the Middle. And Frankie Muniz was the star of that show.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And so is Cranston. I can't remember his first name right now. But he's the guy that was part of Breaking Bad.
Oh!
Yes.
They look a lot alike, him and Frankie Muniz.
They do have some similar looks. They chose a good father to play.
Oh my gosh, no, I meant... Okay, I've never seen Breaking Bad, side note. I've only seen, like, the first couple episodes. But I meant the guy that plays the young guy in Breaking Bad looks like Frankie Muniz.
Oh, okay.
That's a problem.
Bryan Cranston is his name. Goodness.
Okay,
He finally came
plays
back
Walter
to me.
White.
Yeah, he plays Walter White, and he also plays the father in Malcolm in the Middle.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, moving on. We just see a lot of, like, Wanda and Vision growing closer. We see Wanda kind of being experimented on. Who were the people that had her in those cell blocks, or in the cell block?
So those people were the people that, you know, Captain America has always been fighting since World War II. And there were the ones that got a hold of Loki's staff.
Oh, yes. And that's why they had that stone.
And, you know, Loki's staff is the stone that he used to, whenever he touched people, he is able to control their minds and things like that. So, yeah, the group Hydra, the ones that have been, they got a hold of that. I don't know how they got a hold of Loki's staff, but they did, and they were experimenting on people. That's when, you know, Wanda and Pietro comes in, because they did the experiment on them. And as we see in this episode, she survives whatever happens.
And when she's interacting with that stone, she sees that silhouette, like, of a woman in a dress.
And
did you notice that?
I didn't.
Yeah, and I think that's when, like, Scarlet Witch, like, the Scarlet Witch persona was, like, manifested.
But we did notice, like, whenever, like, the people that were doing the experiment, they didn't see what was happening in there. They just saw her, like, walk into the room and just kind of faint. And then it's like, what happened? But when we see from her perspective, she sees, like, the gem comes out and, like, blast her with all kinds of energy and stuff like that.
And within that yellow energy was a figure. I saw a figure.
I think I may need to watch that again, because I think I may have been turning away, stuffing my face with something.
Probably. Eating dinner while watching it. Yes.
I know. That could be a dangerous combination.
So, a big part of this episode that stands out and is kind of like a game changer for the show, too, is when Wanda goes to the sword facility to see Vision.
Yes.
And the director is kind of putting her off of, like, you know, you can't take him, you can't bury him. And she's like, I don't want to do anything with him. I just want to give him a burial, you know. And he doesn't want that. He's forbidding it.
Yeah, Hayward.
Well, yeah, Hayward. And when Hayward, back in a previous episode a long time ago, is talking to Monica Rambeau and trying to make it seem like Wanda stormed the facility and stole Vision's body. We never actually saw that in the security video that he showed Monica. We saw her storm in, but we didn't see anything past that.
Yeah.
And in this episode, they do show her, she does explode the window so that she can go down there and see him, but then she just walks away.
Yeah.
And she leaves, and she goes to her car and drives to Westview.
She never took the bite.
Never. He lied. Hayward lied. Hayward lied and Vision died.
Hayward lied and Vision died.
Or did he?
We'll find out.
So she never did what he claimed she did, which means, as I'm sure most people had guessed, that he had ulterior motives. You know, he wasn't after her because she stole, you know, a smart computer person from the facility. You know, she didn't steal Vision. So why is he so hell-bent on calling her a terrorist and destroying her? You know? And we see that she actually did not take Vision's body. So how is Vision in Westview? Well, when she goes to Westview, you kind of see like the town looks really sad.
I mean, it looks like it is drained. It doesn't have much color, like, but you see color in it. But every single person you see in there, they look like downtrodden. They look like nothing's going right in their lives. Every single one of them that you see. You know, you see the characters that we've been seeing throughout, and they're just not happy. They look sad.
They do. She goes to this plot of land that has like a house foundation, and we see that I guess her and Vision had bought a property together, and they were going to make a forever home together in Westview. And that obviously didn't happen before he passed away. And she just gets so overtaken with grief that that's how she creates that barrier. She like manifests her powers, and she builds Vision from the ground up with her powers in that moment of grief. And so she never took his body. And that's why when he came out of the barrier a couple of episodes ago, the Halloween episode, when he came out of the barrier and he disintegrated. That's why he was like starting
to disintegrate.
Because he wasn't created in the real world.
Yes. He's an apparition.
They don't make us hang on to that confusion and curiosity for long, because a following scene shows that Hayward and his team have actually resurrected Vision. They have built him anew, and he's entirely like bluish white.
Yeah, he's like a, what did they call it? A white Vision, pretty much. So yeah.
Well, from what I was reading, that's his full name.
Oh.
White Vision, right?
I think so. But they explain him as White Vision because I guess that's this when Vision is rebuilt or something like that. He's just, you know, all white. It's pretty interesting that they brought that in from the comics.
And White Vision is described as he is Vision, but without a soul and without morals and without compassion. So he's basically like an autonomous, just
android
computer person. Android.
So yeah,
that's the technical term.
So he's just some type of android without the personality that he once developed or artificial intelligence that he had from Jarvis.
Which is the exact thing that Vision originally said he was against. That's why he didn't want to come back, because he didn't want another one of him out there. He didn't want another Ultron to happen.
And nobody wants another Ultron.
And that was Hayward's whole goal. So now I'm curious, this last episode is probably going to be action-packed, because what is going to happen when Vision from the barrier meets White Vision? They're gonna have to fight.
Yeah, they will have to fight.
Or she's gonna have to fight White Vision. Probably Wanda is going to.
I have a theory, but I don't know if this theory is gonna pan out. My theory is that
what is it?
The combination, like they're going to combine, and maybe Vision will come back in some kind of way.
And be able to access life outside of the barrier. That would be a really good way to bring him back.
Yes. That's what I'm thinking, but I don't know if that's going to happen at all or if that's where they're going with it. But I just thought that that'd be pretty cool.
It could be, yeah, if he kind of defeats him and then they can somehow collide.
Combine into that body.
As long as Real Vision doesn't die all over again. Although, who is Real Vision?
Yeah.
Wanda's version of Vision. Let's hope he doesn't die again.
Yeah. Her version of Vision is the closest thing to Vision that I've seen. So.
And then, of course, we get the ultimate standoff with Agatha and Wanda at the very end of the episode. We see she's got the boys.
And like some kind
restrained.
of snare.
Yeah, she's got them like choked out, which is crazy. Agatha, that's not nice.
Those are children.
Yeah. And that's when she calls Wanda the Scarlet Witch. Which I didn't realize that was the first time anybody actually called her that in the MCU.
Yeah.
Because everybody calls her that anyway.
Yeah, we all.
But that's just because people know
that
that's who it was. But yeah.
Yeah, they called her Wanda throughout, so finally she gets her superhero name of Scarlet Witch, which I was like, oh, that's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, there are lots of theories to be had about this. I know we only have one episode left, so I guess we're going to find out a whole lot more this coming Friday. I don't know. Who do you think the big bad is? Like, after this episode, have your thoughts changed? Because mine kind of have after I did even more research. Like, I know we kind of talked about Mephisto being a possibility. Still very well could be.
We spoke a little bit about not thinking as much the Nightmare character. And then we also have Dormammu, but I know it's not Dormammu because we already know that Dormammu is staying away from the planet right now because he still probably thinks that Doctor Strange is going to put him in another time loop. And he doesn't want that.
Well, my other thought, just after reading some more last night, I came to the conclusion that I believe my final answer, and I will put this in the podcast right now, that this is my final answer prediction, and I'm okay with being wrong, but I really think it could be Shumagorath.
Oh, you talking about the one-eyed octopus? Yes, the one-eyed
the floating octopus?
The one-eyed floating giant octopus-like creature, Shumagorath.
And I say that because, first of all, he has the iron-bound books of Shumagorath. And that book in Agatha's basement could be the Darkhold. I don't believe so, because we already saw that in Doctor Strange, and it doesn't look the same. So it's another kind of book. And I just think that it could definitely be one of Shumagorath's books.
And I think that's going to lead a lot into the next Doctor Strange movie, because I know Doctor Strange is trying to collect those type of books and get those, they're trying to keep those books out of general population because they're so dangerous of like giving access and open up portals to those dark dimensions that, they don't want. Like we saw what one did with Dormammu and how that can turn horrible. There are so many other creatures that are on like Dormammu's level that could like just level the earth, and just bring like everybody down to slavery and everything. So
Agatha Harkness's son, Nicholas Scratch, he manipulated the Fantastic Four into releasing Shumagorath. Like releasing him into the earth, I guess, and brought him out. I just feel like there's too many like coinciding characters for these next few phases in the MCU that have big parts in the comics with Shumagorath.
Yeah.
So, Doctor Strange has run-ins with him. Vision does as well. We have Nicholas Scratch. So I just feel like it could easily be.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It easily could be that.
Oh, and isn't he the master of chaos magic?
He is. He is he's involved with chaos magic, and that's one thing they keep mentioning.
They keep, harping on Wanda having chaos magic. And she's harnessing that chaos magic. So it's my thought. I could be completely wrong. But you heard it here. Probably not first, but you heard it here.
Yep, that's her theory. And I think it's a kind of valid theory. I mean, based off of the research and the information that we have, I can see that.
It's like 50% solid because I'm not the greatest with comics and Marvel in general as far as knowledge, but it's a thought.
Yeah, I think it based off of the information, I could see that.
And if it's not, I would like to see an enemy like that. You know, I'm excited for these next few years in the MCU because I think that it's going to deviate a little bit from the type of action that we're used to from superhero movies, which is super cool, by the way. I'm not like dissing on that at all. But I think while there is going to be a ton of action, it's going to be a different kind, and it's going to be more cosmic. It's going to be more magical. And I really look forward to that. And I think it could get some people that wouldn't normally be into superhero movies. They might be into the more magical side of things and mystical and you know. And
won't just be more like superheroes, more like fantasy, going into more fantasy elements.
And darker, you know, things like that.
Like, if you think about the old comics with Doctor Strange, those were real fantasy, like, you know, oriented and really cosmic and crazy.
Well, and his first movie was kind of different.
Yeah, it was.
Than the other MCU movies. I liked it a lot, you know, which I'm not dissing. I like all the different kinds of, you know, superhero types of movies, but I did enjoy kind of changing it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Seeing
and
that.
It was a nice deviation from like the normal type of fights that you would see in the Marvel movies, you know.
And we might be seeing more multiverses. I mean, I know that Doctor Strange is it's called Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness. And the new Spider-Man movie got its title, and it's Spider-Man No Way Home. That could insinuate multiverse.
Yes, it can. Because, you know, once you go into the multiverse, you don't know when you're going to make it back to the correct, you know, universe.
So they're probably going to go more of that type of route, I'm thinking. And we're going to have Marvel's The Eternals.
And they're more cosmic.
And that's cosmic gods, isn't it?
Yeah, they're pretty much gods, and they're like cosmic-like entities.
So we're going to have some really cool shows to cover coming up. I'm very excited about it.
Yes.
You know, this week on Wanda, we didn't get any Monica, any Agent Wu, or Darcy. But I'm sure next week they'll show back up. So I'm excited to...
We have a good full cast.
come back to them. Oh, and another point about Shumagorath. Spectrum defeated him at one point.
Oh, yes.
In the comics.
She did have a role in defeating him.
And Spectrum is another name for Photon / Monica Rambeau.
Monica Rambeau. So we're not sure on what name they're going to give Monica in this series, or like give her in general in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It could be Photon or it could be Spectrum.
Yeah, we just keep saying Photon because that's
that was
what we know. But
you know, her main name for a while, but it could be Spectrum. And I think it's best to go with Spectrum since it is her current name, instead of like having it Photon then switching it to Spectrum later on. Just
well, once they tell us what to call her, then we'll know.
yeah, we'll keep it as that. One thing I wanted to talk about was a little bit of history about the comics.
Okay.
Yeah.
More history.
Did you know that the Vision that we know from WandaVision was created back in 1968?
What?
In Avengers number 57.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Was he called Jarvis?
Nope, he was not Jarvis. That was Marvel Cinematic Universe. He wasn't created by Tony Stark. He was actually created by Hank Pym. He's the one who created Ultron. And then Ultron is the one who created Vision.
Oh.
Yeah. So Hank Pym was wanting to do something really great by creating an awesome artificial intelligence. And he did. He created Ultron. But Ultron decided that, like in the movie, people aren't really that great. And they need to be, eradicated. And normal life needs to be, computerized. So one of his first things he created or tried to create was Vision. And, made him another artificial intelligence. But Vision didn't agree with the ways of Ultron. And he, joined the Avengers. And Wanda, Scarlet Witch, was created back in 1964.
Oh, wow.
And her original powers was that she could alter probability. And then later on, they expanded upon her powers, and she became more like a powerful sorceress.
So she could have increased my probability to become a billionaire?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
She'd be a good friend to have.
Yes, she would be. And another thing, more history, like Vision wasn't the first Vision. There was a Vision that came out in 1940 in Timely Comics, which is what Marvel Comics was called before they became Marvel Comics. They were called Timely Comics.
Okay.
And this version of Vision was an alien from Smoke World. Yeah. And his name was Arcus. It's Aarkus. So Arcus? Arcus was his name. He has a similar background as another superhero from another universe, DC. And we're not...
DC is not a dirty word.
It's not a dirty word, but we can say that they took some liberties creating their character Martian Manhunter from this character. And I can't really say Marvel and DC do trade taking characters that are very similar and
Namor and Aquaman.
Yeah, and they do it a lot from each other, and sometimes one character becomes more popular than the other, like Deadpool and Deathstroke.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a similar thing as that, and it's created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby.
That was the Vision in the Timely Comics?
Yeah, Timely Comics back in 1940. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, and I just wanted to kind of bring that up.
Cool.
So.
Facts of the week.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I thought that's pretty interesting.
Well, and I bet next week we're going to have so much to talk about with the season finale of WandaVision. I kind of wish it was going to be 10 episodes.
I do.
Not 9. Maybe we'll be surprised and it will be 10, but I think it is 9.
So
from everything I've been seeing.
Maybe it's like a super extended episode.
Oh, let's hope so. This episode was 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. One bit that we kind of forgot to mention about the White Vision is that was the end credit scene.
Yeah.
So that came after the first set of credits.
Yes. And
so be sure to fast forward and see that. Like, if you were like, oh my god, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
It's because it was an end credit scene.
It was an end credit scene, and we just combined it all.
Yes. So go back and watch that if you haven't. But yeah, this episode was about 45 minutes with credits, including credits.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they did increase. So I'm hoping that maybe the last episode will be,
it could be longer.
It could be an hour long or something like that.
Yeah, it could be. Let's cross our fingers for that. I would like to. Because they're going to have a lot to fit in, I think.
Mm-hmm. So that it could
we need to know more about why Agatha's there. Because we know she claims that, she came there because she saw the crazy amount of chaos magic coming from Westview and she wanted to find out why. But we need to know why she cares.
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe she wants that power for herself.
And who is her husband, Ralph?
Yes.
Is it a one-eyed octopus?
It could be a one-eyed giant
floating in the air,
floating around, trying to take over people's souls.
Maybe she just said she had a husband, and she doesn't.
And that bunny rabbit Scratch, is that her son? What's
Yes.
Scratch up to?
We gotta find out. And hopefully we will next week.
Yes.
But I think that does it for this week's episode, so we are going to head out.
You guys have a wonderful week coming up, and then we'll get to talk about episode 9.
Yes, and if you guys have any questions, anything you want to discuss, shoot us an email. You can email us at dualcastpod@gmail.com. That's DUALCASTPOD@gmail.com. Or you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at dualcastpod.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see you guys next time. Bye!